There have been many foreigners from Western countries who have promoted Danang, Vietnam as a wonderful place to live and even retire. You know who these individuals are. Their videos are littered throughout YouTube. At first glance, Danang may seem like a nice beach city. I had this exact thought during the first few days of my first visit. But after the first few days, once I began to venture around, I became shocked at what I saw. In short, I believe Da Nang, Vietnam is one of the most dangerous beach cities in Southeast Asia from a public safety standpoint, and one of the most dangerous beach cities in the world when you factor in the full risk profile.
If you're coming to Danang, you're in the right place. I started a community here to make it easier for you to meet people and get settled in as quickly as possible when you first arrive. Everything I've learned from 6 years living in Vietnam, I've put inside this group. And I'm really proud of how it's turned out.
And the individuals who have been promoting Da Nang as some amazing place never show you the other side of the picture. They only show you the nice things. They have no credibility. You should never forget that.
Welcome back to beautiful, relaxed, quiet, green, chill, outdoors, Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. I know, it sure doesn't look like the one you've seen in pictures. And I kind of want to tell you that everything you've heard about Vietnam and living here is wrong. And I don't mean slightly off. I don't mean outdated. I mean, the dominant narrative about what it is actually like to live in this country is so consistently, so confidently, so thoroughly wrong that I genuinely wonder sometimes where people are getting their information from. If you're thinking about moving to Vietnam, this will be the most useful hour you spend all year, perhaps even for your whole life, man. I'll show you exactly what you need in your first 30 to 180 days, how you're gonna set it all up, where you're gonna live, what visa to get, how much to budget, even how to find your first doctor, apartment, neighborhood, the whole deal, fast and easy. No guesswork, just a simple.
These individuals are generally of two types. The first type are ignorant millennials or low-level travel vloggers who stay in Da Nang for a few weeks and love it because of a few westernized cafes, bars, restaurants, beaches, and cheap apartments. Many of these people call themselves travel vloggers or digital nomads. That should tell you all you need to know. In short, many of them lack proper education. They are not intelligent, they have bad judgment, and many of them are desperate for money. When you have bad judgment, you will get most things wrong. Never listen to anyone who has bad judgment. And when someone is desperate for money, their judgment can become skewed very quickly. Folks, let me be clear about something. If you want accurate information about a place, a country, a city, investing, business, retirement, relocation, public safety, food safety, or health risks, the last source you should trust is a travel vlogger or digital nomad. The majority of these individuals are poorly educated, which is one reason why many of them have failed in their home country and now pretend that wandering around cheap countries with a camera somehow makes them experts.
What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to go over exactly what is in my Welcome to Danang in-person service offers. It's going to show you guys everything from the airport pickup, checking you into your hotel, converting your currency, getting you a SIM card, and everything you guys need to know about coming here to the city of Danang. So stick around.
But it goes beyond that. All of them, travel vloggers, digital nomads, relocation influencers, expat promoters, and anyone else monetizing this type of content are selling you dreams that do not exist. They are trying to make money from your views. They are trying to sell memberships, courses, consulting calls, relocation services, affiliate offers, apartment referrals, and whatever else they can come up with. If you trust a salesman for the truth when he is selling you something, you are a fool. Let me save you a lot of time, money, and potentially your health. If your feed is suddenly flooded with videos about Danang, live here for $800 or $1,000 a month, cheap paradise, best expat city in the world, retire in Vietnam, live like a king, that did not happen by accident. It is not because Danang suddenly became some hidden utopia. It is because that narrative performs extremely well on YouTube. The algorithm rewards it, and now a growing number of creators are pushing it. I have lived in Southeast Asia for over a decade. I own property in Danang. I have worked on Wall Street and have spent my career analyzing markets, economies, risk, incentives, financial fraud, business models, and human behavior. So this is not a tourist take. This is not sponsored. This is not monetized. This is what Danang actually looks like on the ground. Search Danang cost of living and you will see the same pattern. Travel vloggers, expat influencers, digital nomad channels, and relocation style content. You will see familiar faces like Drew Binsky or Mark Wiens, not necessarily dishonest, but part of a system that favors simple, positive narratives. Then you have smaller niche channels where things get more questionable. One example that comes up in this space is Evan A., a creator who promotes Danang heavily while linking viewers into retirement or relocation style funnels. When you see a setup like that, no clear disclosure of full identity, no transparent company structure tied to what is being sold, funnels built off lifestyle claims, you do not need to assume intent. Just follow the incentives. Because this is not random content, it is a business model. Every video can generate money through Google AdSense. Depending on the channel, audience, geography, and niche, creators may earn several dollars per 1,000 views. A viral cheap living video can bring in meaningful money. And the titles that win are obvious. $300 apartment. Live like a king. You won't believe these prices. Vietnam is the best place to retire. Why I left the West. Danang changed my life. Nobody clicks on here are the trade-offs and risks. Then you have affiliate links, rentals, hotels, travel insurance, services, relocation programs, even financial freedom courses. More views turn into more clicks turn into more conversions turn into more money. As channels grow, sponsorships come in, developers, agencies, service providers, relocation consultants, visa agents, apartment brokers, and other businesses paying for exposure. Sometimes it is obvious, sometimes it is not. And over all of it sits the algorithm, pushing whatever gets the most engagement. Exaggeration works, simplicity works, fantasy works, balanced reality does not. That is why the bigger issue is not merely that these YouTube grifters are exaggerating Danang. The bigger issue is that their content can cause real harm. This is not harmless travel entertainment. When someone makes video after video presenting Danang as a cheap, safe, easy paradise where foreigners can live like kings, retire early, or escape the West, they are not just sharing opinions, they are shaping decisions. And some of the people watching are naive enough to treat these videos as serious relocation research. That is where the danger begins. A tourist watching a few videos and booking a one-week trip is one thing. But someone selling their belongings, leaving their country, moving across the world, signing a lease, changing their retirement plans, or relocating with a spouse or family based on polished YouTube content is something completely different. These creators almost never show the full risk profile. They show coffee shops, beach walks, apartment tours, cheap meals, and sunset drone shots. They do not show the public safety problems, the food safety problems, the pollution, the mold risks, the weak infrastructure, the lack of meaningful pedestrian protection, or the fact that many foreigners are lowering their standard of living while pretending they discovered some secret financial loophole. That is not education. That is lifestyle propaganda. This is why so many of these videos follow the same formula. I live in Danang for $800 a month. Vietnam is the best place to retire. Why I left the West, you won't believe these prices. Danang changed my life. It is a content template. It works because it sells escape. It sells fantasy. It sells resentment toward the West. It sells the idea that anyone can solve major financial or lifestyle problems by moving to a cheaper country. But reality is not that simple. Now let's talk about the biggest illusion, housing. You will constantly see 300 apartment in Danang. What they do not show you is that it is often a tiny one-room studio, a box. And ask yourself a basic question. Do you live in a tiny studio where you are from? If not, why would you do it in Danang? Are you actually getting a lower cost of living or are you lowering your standard of living? Because those are not the same thing. But it gets worse. Many of these cheap apartments can have mold problems, and you cannot always detect mold immediately. Sometimes you smell it, sometimes you see it on the walls, ceilings, bathroom grout, cabinets, or air conditioning units. But sometimes it is hidden behind walls, under flooring, inside ventilation systems, or trapped in furniture and bedding. Danang is humid. Buildings are often poorly sealed, poorly ventilated, and unevenly maintained. That is a perfect setup for mold. And mold is not just some minor inconvenience. Mold exposure can aggravate allergies, asthma, respiratory inflammation, chronic coughing, sinus problems, and other lung issues. Certain mold-related toxins are also serious health concerns. So when these YouTubers casually show you some cheap little apartment and call it amazing value, they are leaving out one of the biggest risks. You may be renting a damp, moldy box that slowly damages your health. And that is before we even talk about location. Some of these $300 apartments are in poor locations, far from the places most foreigners actually want to go. So now the cheap apartment costs you time every day. More grab rides, more traffic, more hassle, more exposure to pollution, more inconvenience. Others are buried in narrow alleys where access is poor. Delivery drivers struggle to find you, emergency access may be limited, and the surrounding environment can feel cramped, dirty, noisy, or unsafe. And then there is the noise. This is one of the biggest things these relocation grifters almost never explain honestly. Some of these cheap apartments come with constant construction noise, hammering, drilling, grinding, concrete cutting, trucks, workers yelling, and in Vietnam, construction can start early and go on for months. Then you have roosters crowing at sunrise. Then you have the banh mi or bun bao guy blasting through a loudspeaker. Then you have motorbike horns. Then you have dogs barking. Then you have karaoke. And karaoke in Vietnam is not background music. It can be brutally loud, badly amplified, and go on for hours. If you are unlucky, it can be right next door, across the alley, or directly under your apartment. For some foreigners, especially people coming from quieter western suburbs or better regulated cities, this is not a small adjustment. It can drive them crazy. The constant noise, the lack of control, the poor soundproofing, the traffic chaos, the construction, the loudspeakers, the roosters, the karaoke, the cramped alleys, it all adds up. That is the part the YouTube fantasy leaves out. They show you the rent price. They do not show you the mold. They do not show you the noise. They do not show you the poor location. They do not show you the daily hassle. They do not show you the trade-offs. So when someone tells you they found a great $300 apartment in Danang, the first question should not be, where is it? The first question should be, what is wrong with it? Because at that price, there is almost always a catch. If you want something comparable to a normal Western one-bedroom in a decent oceanside area, you are often looking at $700 or more. And here is what they also do not tell you. Rental costs have been rising fast. Many properties have seen large increases over the past couple of years. So even the cheap narrative is getting outdated in real time. Everything below that involves compromises. Space, quality, comfort, location, noise, mold, maintenance, air quality, building standards, or management. The same logic applies across the board. Lower price almost always means lower standard. Food is another example. You will see endless clips of $1 meals, street food, and cheap eats. What you will not see is what is happening behind the camera. Go out late at night and walk through those same areas. You will see rats moving through food stalls. You will see open kitchens exposed to the environment. You will see food sitting out. That is not rare. That is normal. And that bowl of pho you just downed, where do you think the water came from? If you think they are using bottled or properly filtered water in most cheap food operations, you are living in a fantasy. In many cases, the water exposure comes through broth, ice, vegetables, sauces, washing, and cooking practices. Tap water in Vietnam is not considered safe to drink. You might not get immediately sick from every exposure, but that does not mean it is harmless. Foreigners who casually eat everywhere because a YouTuber told them Vietnam is amazing and cheap may not understand how much hidden exposure comes through the food system. They may assume that because they are not drinking tap water directly, they are avoiding the risk. That is naive. The risk is embedded in the food system. Then add in the structural issues. Poor storage, high humidity, inconsistent hygiene, questionable refrigeration, low-grade ingredients, reused cooking oils, and uneven sanitation standards. That environment is ideal for contamination. Humidity also increases mold risk. Mold is not just an aesthetic issue. For some people, it can aggravate respiratory problems, allergies, inflammation, and long-term health problems. In food storage, high humidity can also contribute to mold contamination, including contamination that can produce aflatoxins under certain conditions. These are not minor irritants. Aflatoxins are well-documented carcinogens linked to liver damage. On top of that, you have questionable water quality, reused oils, poor storage practices, and inconsistent hygiene. None of that shows up in a polished YouTube video. Again, this is not the kind of thing that appears when some digital nomad films a luxury apartment tour for 10 minutes during the day with all the lights on. And just like housing, food prices are rising quickly. It is not unusual to see major price increases across many food categories and restaurants over the past couple of years. So again, the idea that everything is cheap is not just misleading. It is becoming outdated. So ask the real question. Are you saving money? Or are you taking on risk? Because if you want to reduce those risks, if you want cleaner food, better sourcing, better hygiene, safer water practices, and better storage, you are going to higher end places, and those cost more. So the idea that everything is just cheap does not hold up. Now let's talk about something almost nobody mentions, public safety. Yes, violent crime is low. That does not mean you are safe. That is a half-truth. Violent crime is not the only measure of safety. Public safety also means whether sidewalks are usable, whether traffic laws are enforced, whether pedestrians can cross the street safely, whether parents can push a stroller without being forced into traffic, whether emergency services are reliable, whether construction hazards are controlled, and whether the built environment protects people from daily risk. Danang fails badly on several of these practical safety measures. Look at the beachfront area where most foreigners spend their time. There is little meaningful traffic enforcement, and where you would expect it most, where tourists are, it is often absent. There are no reliable, safe crosswalks to access the beach in many areas. People are forced to stand in the middle of a two-way road, waiting between moving traffic, trying to time their crossing. At night, it gets worse. Then look at sidewalks. In many areas, they are effectively unusable. They are blocked by motorbikes, construction materials, restaurant seating, random obstacles, broken pavement, and whatever else happens to be there. So what happens? You walk in the street. In active traffic, you regularly see pedestrians navigating around moving vehicles. And it is not uncommon to see women and even men pushing baby strollers in the middle of the road because there is nowhere else to go. Think about that for a second. That is not a minor inconvenience. That is built-in daily exposure to risk. Now let's talk about motorbikes, because this is another area where foreigners are wildly naive. Most foreigners think it is safe to ride motorbikes in Vietnam. I even see many foreigners riding without helmets. Let me tell you something. I have lived in Asia for over a decade, and I have never ridden a motorbike here, and I never will. Why? Because I know how dangerous it is. I realize that I do not know how these people think. I do not know how they will react on the road. I do not know whether they will suddenly turn, stop, cut across traffic, run a red light, ride the wrong way, pull out from an alley, or make some move that would make no sense to a Western driver. Their road behavior and thought processes are very different from what many foreigners are used to. That is not an insult. That is reality. And if you do not understand that reality, you are putting your life in the hands of strangers whose behavior you cannot predict. This is one reason why road accidents are such a major killer of foreigners in places like Thailand. The same pattern could become even more relevant in Vietnam as more foreigners move here that rent motorbikes and assume they can handle traffic because they watched a few YouTube videos. The bottom line is simple. I have been in Asia a long time, and I have seen unimaginable accidents. Bodies on the road, people thrown from bikes, tourists with shredded legs, crashes that happen in seconds because someone made one unpredictable move. That is the reality these YouTube relocation promoters almost never show you. They show the beach road. They show the scooter ride. They show the freedom. They do not show the blood on the pavement. They do not show the spinal injuries. They do not show the head trauma. They do not show what happens when a foreigner without proper licensing, proper insurance, proper road experience, or proper judgment gets into an accident in Vietnam. And here is the part people really do not want to think about. You do not want to rely on emergency medical care in Vietnam, that is for sure. And that assumes you even make it to the hospital on time. In much of Southeast Asia, traffic does not reliably yield for ambulances the way people expect in Western countries. So an ambulance may not reach you quickly. It could take a very long time. In a serious accident, those minutes matter. A survivable injury can become fatal. A manageable injury can become permanent. A head injury, internal bleeding, or spinal injury does not wait patiently while an ambulance fights through traffic. So when some clueless YouTuber tells you Danang is safe because violent crime is low, understand how incomplete that statement is. Road safety is public safety. Emergency response is public safety. Traffic enforcement is public safety. Pedestrian infrastructure is public safety. Hospital access is public safety. And on those measures, the risks are serious. This is where the grift becomes especially dangerous. A YouTuber can say, I feel safe here, while walking around for content. But that does not mean an older retiree, a person with mobility issues, a family with children, a foreigner unfamiliar with Southeast Asian traffic, or some naive person renting a motorbike for the first time will be safe in the same environment. I didn't get robbed is not the same thing as this city has strong public safety infrastructure. Now add another layer that almost never gets discussed, air quality. Yes, Danang is better than Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City in terms of pollution, but that does not mean it is good. It just means it is less bad. Compared to what most people are used to in Western countries, pollution levels can still be significantly higher. And here is the key issue. Low-level pollution is not always accurately measured, reported, or understood by casual observers. You have thousands of motorbikes constantly emitting carbon monoxide and particulate matter, especially PM 2.5. You have construction dust, you have traffic fumes, you have localized pollution that can vary dramatically from street to street, and you are breathing that in every day. That kind of exposure does not always hit you immediately. It builds over time. Long-term air pollution exposure is linked to chronic lung disease, cardiovascular problems like heart attacks and strokes, and even cognitive decline. Again, this is part of the cost that never shows up in a YouTube video. And while all of this is being marketed as cheap living, the irony is that the content itself is helping drive prices up. More exposure brings more foreigners. More demand pushes prices higher. You are already seeing it across both housing and food. The same people selling the idea of cheap living are contributing to the inflation that erodes it. So strip away the marketing, and what do you actually have? Danang is not a cheat code. It is a trade-off. You can spend less, but you are accepting lower standards and higher risk. Or you can spend more and move closer to Western levels of comfort, food safety, housing quality, and personal safety. What you cannot do is have both cheap and high quality, because that combination does not exist. And this is the central fraud of the Danang fantasy. The costs are hidden. The rent may look cheaper, but the apartment may be smaller, moldier, noisier, less durable, poorly insulated, poorly ventilated, poorly located, or badly managed. The food may look cheaper, but the hygiene and sourcing may be inferior. The city may feel safer because violent crime is low, but the traffic and pedestrian infrastructure may expose you to daily physical danger. The lifestyle may look relaxed, but the pollution, humidity, bureaucracy, medical limitations, visa uncertainty, language barriers, noise, road danger, emergency care limitations, and daily hassle are real. The cheap paradise narrative strips out all of those trade-offs. That is why these content creators deserve harsher criticism. They are not merely wrong. Many of them are reckless. More precisely, the proper legal phrase is reckless disregard. They are publishing relocation-style content about Danang while ignoring obvious risks involving food safety, public safety, road danger, motorbike accidents, emergency medical access, pollution, housing quality, mold, medical access, visa uncertainty, noise, rising costs, and daily living conditions. They know, or should know, that naive viewers may rely on these videos when making serious life decisions. And in many cases, I believe they know exactly what they are doing. That is why some of them go out of their way to avoid transparency. They hide behind channel names. They do not clearly disclose their full legal identity. They are vague about their business structure. They do not clearly explain how they profit from YouTube revenue, affiliate links, referrals, relocation funnels, sponsorships, consulting calls, or service provider relationships. They want influence without accountability. That alone should make viewers suspicious. If you are giving people relocation advice, retirement advice, cost of living advice, or lifestyle guidance about moving across the world, you should be fully transparent. Viewers should know who you are, what business you operate, how you make money, who pays you, what relationships you have, what incentives shape your content, and whether you have any background that would call your credibility into question. Full name, business identity, conflicts of interest, referral relationships, sponsorships, relevant qualifications, actual experience, clear disclaimers, real discussion of risk. That should be the bare minimum. But many of these creators do not provide that. Instead, what do you often get? A first name, a YouTube handle, a vague backstory, a few beach shots, a cheap apartment tour, a relocation pitch, a monetized fantasy. They operate through a carefully managed online persona. That is not credibility. That is marketing. And when someone hides basic identifying information while pushing life-changing advice to strangers, viewers are entitled to ask what they are hiding. Are they hiding failed businesses, prior scams, civil lawsuits, regulatory problems, criminal history, financial desperation, undisclosed affiliate conflicts, immigration issues? Or are they simply hiding because they know their content is misleading and could expose them to legal problems if viewers relied on it and suffered harm? Those are fair questions. You do not need to make unsupported accusations. You only need to ask why someone who is supposedly offering trustworthy relocation guidance refuses to provide basic transparency, because this content is not harmless. Some naive person in the US, Canada, Australia, Europe, or elsewhere may watch a handful of videos, believe the fantasy, sell belongings, leave a job, move to Danang, sign a lease, change retirement plans, or bring a spouse or family into an environment they do not understand. Then they discover the reality. Unsafe traffic, blocked sidewalks, motorbike danger, weak emergency response, moldy apartments, questionable food hygiene, poor water practices, pollution exposure, rising prices, limited consumer protection, language barriers, medical uncertainty, constant noise, poor apartment locations, narrow alleys, construction disruption, and a much lower standard of living than they were led to expect. Some will lose money, some will damage their health, some will get stuck in poor housing, some will end up in moldy apartments that aggravate their lungs, sinuses, anuses, allergies, or overall health. Some will discover that the cheap apartment is cheap because it is noisy, badly located, poorly built, poorly ventilated, or surrounded by construction, roosters, loudspeakers, barking dogs, traffic, and karaoke. Some will get into motorbike accidents because they assumed riding in Vietnam was just another fun part of the expat experience. Some will discover too late that emergency medical response is not what they expected. Some will find that the cheap life they were sold requires accepting a standard of living they would never tolerate back home. Some will discover that once they pay for safer food, better housing, air filtration, better medical care, transport, visa support, and basic comfort, the cost advantage shrinks dramatically, and the creators who sold the fantasy will not be there to help them. They will already be making the next video. By then, the YouTuber has already made the ad revenue. That is the grift. They sell the dream. The viewer absorbs the risk. That is the problem. The content is designed to create belief, not understanding. It is designed to convert attention into money. And the more extreme the claim, the better it performs. Danang is a complex city with major trade-offs, does not get clicks. Live Like a King for $800 a month does. So when you see Live Like a King for $800 a month, understand what you are actually watching. It is not a full picture. It is a monetized narrative designed to attract clicks, drive engagement, and generate income. That is why viewers need to stop treating travel vloggers, digital nomads, relocation influencers, and low-level YouTube personalities as credible sources. Many of them do not have the education, discipline, judgment, or incentive structure required to provide serious analysis. They are entertainers pretending to be guides. Some are marketers pretending to be experts. Others are just financially desperate content creators chasing the algorithm. Either way, the outcome is the same: distorted information. Danang may be enjoyable for some people. It may work for certain foreigners under certain conditions, but it is not the simple paradise being sold online. It is a developing city environment with serious trade-offs involving food safety, public safety, road safety, emergency medical access, pollution, housing quality, infrastructure, medical access, bureaucracy, visa uncertainty, mold, noise, location problems, and health risk. Anyone considering moving there needs to understand that before making life-changing decisions. So when you see another smiling YouTuber walking on the beach telling you Danang is cheap, safe, and perfect, ask the obvious questions. What are they not showing me? Who profits if I believe it? How do they make money? What risks are they ignoring? What are their qualifications? What is their full legal identity? What business are they operating? What are their conflicts of interest? Would they still say the same thing if there were no ad revenue, no affiliate links, no relocation funnel, no sponsorships, no consulting calls, no service provider relationships, and no algorithmic reward? Because once you strip away the drone shots, the coffee shop clips, the apartment tours, the scooter riding fantasy, and the fake escape the West narrative, the truth is simple. These people are selling a dream. And some viewers may end up paying for that dream with their money, their health, and their safety.